The first thing that hit me when I stepped out of my sun-bleached Ford Bronco wasn't the cold Pacific drizzle, it was the silence. Astoria, Oregon normally hums with gull cries and the low bass of tugboats. But at 6 a.m., that October morning, the waterfront felt like someone had pressed mute on the world. Only my dog tags made any noise, clinking against the zipper of a desert-tan duffel I'd dragged across 3 airports and 15 years of combat pay. There it was, 318 Commercial Street. My father's cedar-paneled house, our house perched on a rise that smelled of salt and pine. I'd spent childhood summers on those steps slurping orange popsicles and pretending the passing Coast Guard cutters were pirate ships. Now I was 34, spine held together by grit and a titanium plate, looking at a front door that should have been unlocked, welcoming, mine. Instead, a brand-new electronic smart lock glared back in gunmetal gray, and taped under the keypad, laminated so the rain couldn't smudge a single triumphant letter, lay a county notice. Property transferred to Madison Walker Price. Previous owner listed missing in action. Missing in action. My stomach knotted hard enough to yank sweat along my hairline, despite the 40-degree wind. I'd survived mortars in Kandahar and dust storms in Kuwait, yet 4 printed words from the Clatsop County Recorder nearly buckled my knees. If you've ever felt your own family erase you with the stroke of a keyboard, you know that chill licking my ribs. I curled my fingers around the small bronze compass that had belonged to my dad, a Coast Guard officer who taught me never to sail blind. Its lid swung open, needle whirling, searching for north the way I was suddenly searching for solid ground. "All right, Walker," I muttered. "North is still north. You are still alive." Real quick, if you're new here, smash that like button, tap subscribe, and ring the bell, because over the next few minutes, I'm tearing the plastic smile off something called influencer wellness. And trust me, you'll want front row seats. A breath that tasted like betrayal. I'd given the Corps 14 years commanding a mixed-gender platoon, defusing IEDs, ferrying humanitarian supplies no headline ever mentioned. My reward. A half-day reintegration seminar and a pat on the back. That was fine. I'd never needed parades. What I did need was the house my father left me and the dignity of an honorable discharge. Standing in that gray drizzle, boots sinking into autumn mud, I realized my little sister Madison had turned my honorable discharge into a death certificate, and Mom, retired nurse, Sunday school soprano, had signed as a witness. Astoria's fog thickened, seeping inside my jacket. Each water droplet felt like a cold finger spelling M-I-A on my skin. Somewhere in town, fishermen would soon clang open crab pots, teenagers would skateboard past century-old cannery ruins, and coastal tourists would queue for espresso. The universe kept spinning, oblivious that mine had slammed into a wall. The compass trembled in my palm, needle hunting then stuttering as if confused by the iron. In my duffel's zipper, a perfect metaphor for how war scrambles your internal map. 1 second, you're the tough Marine captain hailed as Walker the Wall. The next, you're roadkill beneath a sibling's hustle culture Tesla. A Chevy pickup roared by. Inside, the driver, a gray-bearded vet in a VFW cap, raised 2 fingers in that subtle brotherhood salute. I couldn't raise mine back. I was busy fighting a new enemy bile. The paper shield. The county form was laminated. Yes. But the ink on Madison's signature looked so bold, it practically flexed. She'd scrawled a little heart over the I in Price, branding even her legal fraud with influencer sparkle. I tugged at the form. The tape resisted. Funny how paperwork can become Kevlar when the system wants you quiet. Underneath, a second page detailed verified deepfake documentation of subject's fatality. They'd even attached a grainy Department of Defense logo, as if they'd printed it straight off Wikipedia. Deep fake. The word tasted like sand. I'd seen insurgents weaponize cheap CGI to claim they'd captured Marines alive, but my own sister, using the same trick to bury me. Lightning flickered somewhere beyond the Columbia River bar, throwing silver across swollen clouds. For a heartbeat, I half expected artillery to follow. Combat brain is funny that way, always waiting for the bigger bang. One step inside, 1,000 steps back. I punched the smart lock keypad instinctively. 0611, Dad's Coast Guard call sign. Denied. Second try 1989 the summer. Madison broke her arm climbing that maple tree. Denied. The keypad flashed red as if wagging a finger. Wrong again. Dead girl. Blood hammered behind my eyes. I forced a long box breath in 4. Hold 4, out 4, hold 4, the technique the Corps teaches you when gunfire pins you down. It tasted of pine pitch and seaweed. On the third inhale, a memory ambushed me. Madison livestreaming last Thanksgiving. Ring light turning her freckles into starbursts while Mom waved in the background. I'd tuned in from a sand-blasted base, feeling like a postcard tucked under a windshield wiper acknowledged. But perishable. Madison had ended that stream with, "Good vibes only. Fam on." Good vibes don't laminate fraudulent death certificates. CTA, because this story isn't just mine, folks. Hit comment if you've ever had family stab you in the back, or if you think deepfake laws belong in today's justice system. I read every single one, yes, even the trolls. Because here's the ugly underbelly of the American dream. For every veteran welcomed home with parades. 3 more fight quiet wars against eviction notices, predatory loans, or apparently siblings with ring lights and ruthless ambition. A knock from nowhere. While I debated whether to rip the notice down or set it on fire, the Bronco's horn beeped. Not the polite chirp of a key fob, this was the long, panicked cry of a vehicle in distress. I spun. My duffel still sat in the open tailgate, but the driver's door wide open. Someone was rummaging inside. I caught a glimpse burgundy puffer vest, manicured hands, and a familiar honey blonde ponytail. Madison. She must have parked around the corner, shadow lurking until I arrived. Now she was digging through my life, probably hunting for documents I hadn't even unpacked. Or maybe she just wanted to steal the compass Dad's legacy reduced to aesthetic content. Madison. My voice cracked like a snapped bowline. She didn't flinch. She just raised her phone, angling the camera to capture her best side. Rain glittering like dark crystals on her cheeks. Livestream mode. Chat bubbles already mushroomed across the screen. I heard digital pings, hearts, likes, donations. "Fam," she cooed. "We've got a surprise visitor. Energy vampires never rest. Right." I marched across the gravel, boots crunching oyster shells. Each step felt like breaking through a line of invisible Marines, yelling, "Push forward, Captain." Madison turned the lens toward me. "Say hi to the audience. Aaron." That's when she aimed a remote key fob past my shoulder, behind me. The smart lock clacked. The door swung open. She'd programmed it to her phone, and a smug smile unfurled across her face. "You're trespassing," she sing-songed. "County ordinance says the property isn't yours anymore. Maybe read the notice." Eyes on me, thousands of them. Digital witnesses who'd only ever heard her side. If I lunged, I'd become every unhinged vet headline on the internet. If I retreated, I'd confirm her story that I was a ghost who didn't belong here. The compass in my fist grew warm, bronze absorbing body heat like a silent vow. North steadied, so did I. I lifted my gaze over Madison's phone, into her real eyes, green, bright, ruthless. "You're right," I said softly, fighting to keep my voice from trembling. "This place does belong to someone alive." Her smile faltered, not enough for the camera to catch. "I'm giving you 1 hour," I added. "Lock the door, end the stream, and get out of my truck. Because the next time you point that camera at me, the whole town is going to learn how you faked a funeral before I even had the chance to unpack my dress blues." Her audience exploded with question marks and OMG emojis. Madison's screen name kept scrolling, donations dinging like slot machines. But her jaw tightened. She knew I'd just declared war. And that, friends, is where part 1 ends, because the clock on my sister's so-called good vibes retreat just started ticking. And the first place I'm heading is the courthouse archives, where one dusty envelope might blow her empire into the Columbia River. Dawn in a town that judges by front porches. The sun finally pried itself over the Coast Range, throwing pale gold on Astoria's Victorian rooftops. Salt haze drifted across the Columbia River like a tired stage curtain. I eased the Bronco into gear, every pothole on Marine Drive rattling my half-healed lumbar. The laminated notice lay on the passenger seat, my unwanted co-pilot edges curling, as if the truth couldn't sit straight for long. My first stop, Clatsop County Courthouse Archives. A sandstone box from 1908 that still smells of varnish and old paper cuts. Inside, the floors creak an octave lower than church pews, and every clerk moves at the speed of dial-up internet. Perfect hiding place for a forged deed. 2. Allies aren't always in uniform, Walker. A voice boomed from the lobby. Connor Reyes strode in 6'3", charcoal suit, the same hawk-sharp eyes that once spotted a sniper's glint before any of us hit the dust. Now that focus targeted a stack of manila folders hugged to his chest. You look like you need caffeine, or bail money, maybe both. Connor practiced real estate law in Portland, but he'd burned through the night highway to meet me. Said the drive cleared his head. I knew it let him blast Springsteen and remember when duty felt straightforward. Inside the records room, fluorescent lights buzzed like distant drones. We spread papers over a library table. Connor produced a certified copy of Dad's will. His paralegal had requested it months after the funeral. God bless legal paranoia. The signature, the notary seal, the line bequeathing the house to my eldest child, Aaron May Walker, all impeccably legit. Our smoking gun. But a second gun appeared, a newer deed, date stamped 2 years ago, transferring ownership to Madison Walker Price. In light of the presumed death of grantor Aaron Walker, it bore a pixel-frayed Department of Defense crest. Whoever forged it didn't realize the DoD updated its seal in 2019, tiny eagle tail shape change. My sister's hustle stuttered on graphic design. Connor whistled. She fumbled the serialization too. Wrong file number range for casualty notices. He flipped the page with surgical disgust. A judge might still rubber stamp it if nobody objects. That's why I was here objecting. 3. Ghosts in government buildings. While Connor arranged to file a motion, I wandered the hallway where framed class photos of Coast Guard graduates hung beside plaques honoring Astoria's founders. Fishermen, loggers, mothers who baked pies for war bond drives. Dad once said, "This town rewards perseverance, not perfection." Yet Madison's brand sold perfection wholesale, perseverance optional. I steadied breathing, but combat memories seeped in tile floor, morphing into desert dust. The hum of lights warping into rotor blades. Sweat beaded. I pressed my palm to the cool wall. Counted 4 seconds in, 4 out. The brass compass lay heavy in my pocket. Anchor and reminder. A clerk cleared her throat, grounding me. "Ma'am, your proof of identity." I handed over my veteran's ID. Her brow lifted. "Oh, thank you for your service." The words were polite, practiced like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. Still, kindness has weight. I pocketed it for later. 4. Mama's version of love paperwork filed. We headed to the Astoria Co-op Cafe for fuel. The moment I bit a blueberry scone, my phone lit up. Mom. I almost ignored it. Guilt won. "Aaron, honey," she whispered, as if fearing Madison might overhear through the handset. "Your sister says you threatened her audience. She's worried." "Mom." She broke into my truck. She forged Madison is trying to heal people. She believes in energy balance. I snorted so hard crumbs flew. Energy, she balanced me right off the property tax roll. Silence. Then a brittle confession. She said if I didn't sign, she'd stream your father's hidden savings. The infamous rumor of Dad's gray money cash stashed for emergencies. Never found. Madison weaponized family myth to strong-arm a 60-year-old widow addicted to Facebook. I'm filing suit, Mom. Her breath hitched. Our neighbors will talk. There it was, the motive older than the internet reputation. In this town, a peeling paint job drew more gossip than a DUI. Mom would rather lose a daughter than lose face. My heart cramped. The Corps prepares you for IEDs, not parental cowardice. 5. Enter the third character, the compass whisperer. Phone still hot in my hand. I walked the docks to think. Sea lions barked from buoy 14 gulls, dive-bombed trash cans. And the briny wind smelled of diesel and damp cedar, all sensory proof I was alive. Not a name etched on a memorial wall. That's when Mrs. Dolores King appeared, tottering from the library with 2 armfuls of donated paperbacks. Her knit cap sported a fluorescent pom-pom larger than a softball. Captain Walker, she called only elders, still used my rank. She handed me a manila envelope. I printed these before Madison deleted them. Inside were screenshots of Madison's earlier attempts at filling out transfer forms versions, annotated with her own snarky comments. Need Mom's pretty signature here. Find seal PNG. Change font times. New Roman screams boomer. Gold, Dolores winked. Kids forget librarians see everything. I hugged her, surprising us both, and promised fresh crab rolls for her next shift. Librarians. The stealth archivists of small-town drama. 6. Belief systems collide. Back in Connor's Honda, the Bronco needed oil. We pieced our arsenal Dad's authentic will. The outdated fake deed. Dolores's screenshots. Connor planned depositions. Subpoenas. An emergency injunction. Legal chess. Yet I kept circling one question. Why wasn't Madison satisfied with brand deals and retreat fees? 100,000 followers. Sponsorships. Glamping workshops still not enough. Maybe the American dream had mutated. You're only somebody if you own everything. House, narrative, even a sibling's legacy. I turned the compass in my palm. Dad told me that early Coast Guard compasses were nicknamed whisperers. They didn't bark directions, they offered quiet guidance if you bothered to listen. North, it said. Stay true. 7. Risk high, heart rate higher. Late afternoon, Connor dropped me at a friend's Airbnb, an old cannery loft smelling of rope and history. He left to draft filings. I sank onto a futon, exhaustion spreading like oil on water. Just as eyelids drooped, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. But I recognized the punctuation-heavy flourish. Madison. Madison, you good. Sis. A link followed. I hesitated, then clicked. Her newest TikTok spun up. She perched on my dad's porch swing. Tears glittering. Soft ukulele music underscored her falsetto. When your own flesh turns toxic, sometimes you just surrender the house to the universe. Babes, we're moving the retreat online. Drop A if you believe in transcendence. Comments flooded stay strong. Queen sue her for harassment. Someone tagged the local paper. Another begged Hulu to option the saga. Madison had flipped the board, abandoning the physical property to win the meta-property public sympathy. If the case turned into vet bully's mental health influencer, a judge might quietly nudge us toward settlement. Narrative Warfare 101. My muscles tensed. Rest wasn't an option. I dialed Liam Chen. He answered from some windowless cybersecurity bunker, keyboards clacking. Need that IP trace, I said. I'm 3/4 in. He replied. But, Aaron, Madison hired a bot farm out of Arizona. If we don't counter soon, her version becomes gospel. Thunder cracked over the Columbia. I looked out at ships anchored in twilight. Their deck lights blinking Morse code I almost but not quite remembered. Liam, spin up the counter and book yourself a motel in Astoria. We move at 0600. Just then, sirens wailed outside the Cannery Loft police cruisers speeding toward Commercial Street. Red-blue strobes painting my walls. A dispatcher's voice blared through a passing loudspeaker. All units, report of possible break-in. 318 Commercial. Dad's house. I grabbed the compass and bolted. Blue and red strobes ricocheted across the cannery's corrugated walls, while my heart hammered a cadence only combat medics know 1-1000. 2-1000 move. I sprinted down Astoria's slippery boardwalk, the brass compass bouncing against my sternum like a frantic Morse tap. Each inhalation tasted of diesel, seaweed, and something metallic panic sharpening the air. 318. Commercial came into view, one downstairs window shattered outward. Shards glittering on the porch like ice chips. Officers in rain-slick jackets cordoned the steps with yellow tape. Beyond them, my father's cedar door hung open, yawning black. The sight punched every half-healed memory of breached compounds and midnight alarms. I forced my boots to plant 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold. The VA calls that box breathing. Some days it's spitball over a forest fire. Tonight, it kept me from bolting. Ma'am, stay behind the tape. A young patrolman raised a hand. He couldn't have been more than 23. Freckles bright under squad lights. I flashed my veteran's ID. Owner of record, I said. Throat raw, or at least the record that isn't forged. His partner, Sergeant Olmsted, mid-50s, crew cut that screamed Rotary Club plus Marine Reserves, stepped closer. Captain Walker. He said my rank like we'd shared sandbags once, and maybe he had. We responded to a burglary call from inside the residence. He thumbed toward the door. Caller claimed you were forcing entry. Armed. Armed. My nails dug crescents into my palms. Madison's handiwork. Obviously. Olmsted lowered his voice. Witnesses saw a figure wearing tactical fatigues break the window, then flee toward the river. He eyed my jeans and flannel. Doesn't match your outfit. Translation, you're a suspect, but not the only one. Shattered glass and shattered narratives inside. Flashlights jittered across old floorboards. The living room was ransacked, couch cushions gutted, drawers yanked. Dad's Coast Guard shadow box cracked open. His service medals lay scattered like dull coins. But the compass, my silent North Star, was still warm in my pocket. Relief sent a quick shiver through shoulders act tense too long. Near the fireplace, I spotted a metallic gray GoPro, suction mounted to the mantel and still recording, red light blinking, Madison's livestream gear. She'd probably been streaming when the break-in happened or orchestrating cinematic B-roll for her narrative. Sergeant Olmsted removed latex gloves. Nothing appears stolen except... He gestured at the open wall safe behind a family photo. Empty. Panic rocketed through my ribs until I remembered Connor had Dad's original will in a downtown lockbox. Good legal paranoia. Indeed. But thieves rarely crack safes looking for keepsakes. They look for leverage. Whatever Madison thought was inside cash. Documents. Dad's rumored gray money, it was gone before she ever arrived. Accusations on a 6-inch screen. A squad radio crackled. Dispatch relayed that Ms. Walker-Price was live on TikTok, claiming a traumatized vet just vandalized her healing sanctuary. Links spread faster than spilled diesel. Officers' phones chimed with push notifications while we still dusted for prints. That's today's America. The court of public opinion holds night sessions, and the jury never sleeps. I pulled out my own phone. Madison's stream showed her outside the courthouse dry, unruffled, clutching a mug labeled Positivity Potion. Crocodile tears painted dewy tracks down perfect highlighter. Friends. Trauma makes people violent. She sniffled. 30,000 viewers cooing heart emojis. Send Erin. Healing energy she's lost. The police saw it, too. I could feel their skepticism tightening the room like shrink wrap. One false move and I'd be in cuffs. I swallowed iron. Check the GoPro. It's been filming since before I arrived at the house. Olmsted nodded to a tech, who popped the card into a tablet. Grainy footage filled the screen, 9:18 p.m. A figure in oversized combat fatigues, night vision camera on the helmet, kicked the window. Slipped inside. Height and build. Looked like me. But when the intruder turned, a patchy fake scar ran down her cheek. Skin tone a shade off. A prosthetic mask. My gut twisted. Madison had hired a double cosplay sabotage for the digital age. Olmsted's jaw tightened. Deepfake moves into live action. Welcome to 2025. An unlikely witness steps forward. Bootsteps clacked on the porch. Mrs. Dolores King, still wearing that fluorescent pom-pom hat, waved a tote bag of novels. Officer, I saw everything, she announced, voice quavering but resolute. Dolores had been dropping off returned books in the little free library across the street. She'd recorded on her ancient flip phone a white van idling. A hooded figure jogging out with a slim metal case, the missing safe box, then burning rubber toward Highway 30. License plate partly visible. Dolores, the stealth archivist, strikes again. Olmsted's eyes brightened. May we secure that video, ma'am? She handed over the phone like a sacred relic. Then she squeezed my forearm. Truth has a paper trail. Dear, or, in this case, a pixel trail. PTSD meets public scrutiny. The officers finally let me step outside for air. As soon as the night hit my lungs, the world tilted sirens fading into helicopter thumps, flashlight halos mutating into desert flares. I knelt, palms flat on wet boards, grounding in the present slippery cedar. Smell of tide, compass weight. A camera flash startled me upright. Local reporter Brenda Cow, microphone poised, Captain Walker, any comment on allegations you staged a break-in? I words jammed at the threshold of anger and fear. Behind her, passers-by filmed on phones, maybe live streaming for likes. Connor barreled up then. Tie askew, no questions, he barked. Shielding me, my client just helped law enforcement gather evidence. Brenda cocked her head. Client or friend? Counselor. Both, he said. Voice granite, write that down. The town's $2 towels. Connor steered me across the street to Graham's Boathouse Grill, where the owner thrust 2 steaming mugs of chowder into our hands on the house. He grumbled, wiping teak oil from his palms. The place smelled of smoked salmon and old oars. Safe as any bunker. Between bites, Connor laid out the new battlefield. The forged deed, the outdated DoD seal, Dolores' screenshots, and now van footage formed a chain. Liam texted that he'd cracked the Arizona bot farm. IP connections linked straight to Madison's LLC credit card. But public sentiment was tilting. Madison's violent vet frame picked up traction among wellness circles, who loved a redemption narrative where positivity triumphs over PTSD. We had facts. She had feelings packaged in pastel filters. In the algorithm economy, feelings sell faster. I stared at the compass on the table. Rain-pattered tin roof, steady as heartbeats. Then we flipped the narrative before it coagulates. I said, no half measures. Town hall idea? Connor asked. Bigger, I replied. The compass needle quivered under fluorescent light, pointing north toward some unseen horizon. We turn her own stage lights on her. Sudden darkness and one more twist. The restaurant lights flickered, dimmed, died. Generator rumble failed to kick in. Street lamps outside snuffed out one by one, leaving only car headlights and phone screens, digital fireflies and damp night. Power outage across the riverfront. Connor's phone buzzed. Grid failure, suspected transformer fire. He cursed softly. Court clerk won't file our injunction till morning if the computers are down. Another delay, exactly what Madison needed to cement her version of events overnight. Chowder cooled between us. I felt the old battlefield stir, adapt, improvise, overcome. Then we don't wait for morning, I said. Standing, my wrist throbbed, realized I'd clenched the compass so hard, the edge cut skin. Blood beaded, bright against bronze. We've got portable power, we've got a story, and we've got a town that still believes in porch light truth. Let's light our own porch. Connor's eyes, sparks lit. Livestream from here. From Dad's boat shed, I corrected. The one Madison forgot exists. Liam can beam in remote. Dolores can testify. Metals as backdrop. We give Astoria and the world the unedited feed before her bots bury it. I strode toward the door, pulse sinking to a new mission tempo, tight, purposeful, unmistakable. As I pushed into rain-dark street, a fire truck roared past. Siren-splitting night. Sparks spilling from the transformer blaze on the hill. Ember flecks dance like tracer rounds. And in that flicker, I glimpsed a figure at the far corner, hood up, phone screen glowing, pointed right at me. The fake scar mask. She raised 2 fingers to her temple in mock salute, then vanished into alley shadows. Tomorrow at dawn, I either reclaim my father's legacy or watch my own reputation burn with that transformer. The Columbia River looked like spilled ink as Connor and I jog-limped along the pier toward Dad's forgotten boat shed. Transformer sparks still bloomed up on Coxcomb Hill, dyeing the blackout sky sulfur orange. Every street lamp within a half-mile was dead, but the shed's padlock glinted when my flashlight kissed its same brass brand as my compass. Same satisfyingly stubborn click when I keyed in Dad's code, 0611. Inside, the air smelled of diesel, cedar shavings, and salt-cured memory. We found exactly what we needed: a dusty 2,000-watt inverter, a roll-up projector screen, and Dad's old bosun's chest full of extension cords coiled like sleeping pythons. Connor exhaled. Portable power, evidence backdrop, maritime aesthetics chef's kiss. I ignored the quip. Mission tempo thrummed in my veins. I called Liam Chen on video. His face glowed green in server room light. Fibers down across half the county, he said. Fingers blur typing. But I've got Starlink and 2 VPN tunnels. Your uplink is covered. Good, I replied, voice steadier than I felt. The compass warmed in my palm. Stay true. 1. A stage built from salt and grit. We hauled gear to the shed's double doors that face the river. Connor draped Dad's Coast Guard flag across a workbench. Metals positioned under a clamp light created a subtle gleam reminder of real service versus ring light performance. I clipped the GoPro burglary footage to my laptop, queued side by side with Dolores's van video, the forged deed PDF, and Dad's genuine will. Receipts, timestamps, pixel evidence, our own 5-act play. Outside, rain softened to mist. Across the black water, Astoria's hillside homes flickered candlelight and cell phone flashlights. The town looked 19th century again. No electricity. Only whispers traveling porch to porch. A perfect night for truth, told the old-fashioned way, loud, unvarnished, in plain sight. Stream goes up at 2200. I told Liam. Cross-platform Facebook Live, YouTube, and whichever corner of the internet Madison hasn't paywalled. Copy, he said. Oh, and I traced that cosplay intruder. Costume was overnighted from a prop studio in Phoenix. Guess whose LLC card paid? My pulse jumped. Send the invoice to Connor. Evidence kept stacking like sandbags. Now we just had to hold the line. 2. Ghosts, mothers, and moral nebulas. At 21:30, a silhouette appeared in the doorway umbrella, trembling. Mom. Her face looked older than 60 under flashlight glare, mascara tracks betraying rushed tears. Connor withdrew discreetly. She took in the medals, the flag, the glow of my laptop. Your broadcasting breath hitched. To everyone. Yes, ma'am, I answered, because everyone already heard Madison's version. Mom wrung her hands. She says you'll ruin her livelihood, the sponsors. We'll survive. I cut in. My voice cracked. Dad's honor won't. She spotted the compass hanging from my neck. Her fingers brushed its dented lid. Your father carried that through nor'easters. It never broke. Neither did he. I thought, but the family he left behind sure did. Mom's shoulders sagged. She slipped a folded paper from her coat. She made me sign this, too. A notarized statement declaring Mom had no knowledge of fraud. If Madison rotted, she'd do it alone. The betrayal tasted like rust on my tongue. Yet pity seeped in Mom, trapped by fear of scandal, leveraged like collateral in her own daughter's hustle. I tucked the statement into my evidence pile. Watch the stream. Mom, decide whose energy is toxic afterward. She left without answering, shoes crunching gravel like weak applause. 3 going live while the grid is dead. 2,200 hours. The inverter throbbed. LEDs flashed green. Liam's voice crackled. Uplinks hot. 3, 2. I faced the camera. Metals catching light behind me. My uniform faded core t-shirt. Flannel. Rain stains, not hero glam. Just bone-tired authenticity. Evening. Astoria and Internet. My name is Captain Aaron Walker. Service number ending 0726. According to a forged document, I died overseas. According to my sister's live stream, I'm dangerous. Tonight, I'm simply alive. And so is the truth. I rolled footage, the fake Scar intruder kicking glass. Dolores's van clip with license plate freeze-framed. Invoice linking costume purchase to Wellness by Madison LLC. Chat exploded emojis. Shocked faces. A few troll fake news caps lock screams. Next slide deed comparison. Old DoD seal versus updated. Zoom on the eagle's tail difference. Connor explained like a calm professor, fresh out of patience. Comments shifted. Didn't know that detail. Dang. Influencer used taxpayer logos. Finally, Dad's will. I read the bequest aloud. My throat tightened at his handwriting steady, deliberate. The man who taught me Morse by tapping spoon on dining table oak. Those taps said, "Finish what you start, kiddo." Tonight I'm finishing. 4. Twist inside a twist. 40 minutes in. Viewer count tipped 60,000. Hashtags #VetTruth and #FakeRetreat climbed regional trends. Just as we cued closing remarks, a pop-up hijacked the stream content, removed for copyright violation. Feed dead. Signal's fine, Liam shouted in my earpiece. Platform takedown strike. Copyright on my dad's will. My breath iced. Madison's PR firm must have filed instantaneous DMCA claims, claiming ownership of her likeness shown in burglary footage. Automated bots were faster than due process. Stream dark. We still had the room, 30 locals clutching thermoses, plus Graham, Brenda the reporter, Dolores, and 2 policemen off duty. I stepped onto a milk crate, vocal cords raw. I spoke analog. If you can't share the link, share your voices. Tomorrow, town hall, noon sharp, generator or no generator. Phones recorded. Ready to repost once appeals cleared. Truth. Repackaged into sneakernet resilience. 5. A letter from the past. A symbol reborn. After the crowd dispersed, I closed the laptop and noticed the bosun's chest hadn't sat flush. Inside, beneath oilskins, lay a waxed canvas pouch I'd never seen. Within it, Dad's logbook and an envelope labeled for EMW, if I'm gone. Hands shaking, I opened it. A single Polaroid fluttered out Dad standing beside a safe deposit box, index finger to lips in mock secrecy. On the back, his blocky scrawl, "True North lives at Astoria Credit Union, Box 42. The stolen wall safe earlier tonight had been a red herring. Dad's gray money, or whatever secret he'd set aside, was elsewhere untouched. Madison, the intruder. Everyone had chased the wrong lead. Connor whistled. If Box 42 holds the original deed, we can nuke every fake with a single certified scan. My pulse gunned. The credit union opened at 9 a.m., 3 hours before Madison's courthouse workshop. Perfect timing or perfect trap. I thumbed the compass, needle held steady, as if Dad himself whispered, "Adjust bearings, kiddo." 6. Night march toward moral sunrise. We packed fast. Liam would monitor appeals from the Airbnb. Connor drafted an emergency order to compel platform reinstatement, ready to file once power returned. I volunteered for the 0500 run to the credit union. Dolores insisted on coming. Librarians make excellent witnesses. We stepped outside. Power lines still sizzled on the hill, but dawn's first gray smear teased the horizon. The river slapped pilings with impatient rhythm. I breathed salt and diesel, steadier now. Then my phone vibrated, unknown number again. Image message, my brass compass. Lid snapped off, needle bent. Text overlay, north terminates at 0900 M. Adrenaline surged, metallic and sharp. Madison had somehow accessed a duplicate photo or the real compass currently safe in my pocket. Threat or bluff? Either way, she targeted the symbol that kept me oriented. I looked at the intact compass in my hand, then at Connor. She wants psychological warfare. She just declared open season. Engines revved as we climbed into the Bronco, headlights carving tunnels through mist. In 3 hours, we'd open Box 42, or step into whatever ambush Madison prepared. Either the compass would guide us back to family honor, or she'd twist the needle until north pointed straight into oblivion. Box 42 sat behind bulletproof glass in Astoria Credit Union's vault. No bigger than a shoebox yet, heavy with everything my sister hadn't planned for. The guard handed me a pair of latex gloves, bank policy, while Dolores King stood witness, hairnet from the bakery shift still clinging to her silver curls. Connor angled his phone to film. This time, we saved the footage straight to 3 off-site clouds. My pulse drummed in my ears. I slid the steel drawer open and froze. Inside lay Dad's brass compass twin needle perfectly intact, plus a sealed USB drive marked, "For both of you," beneath. A cashier's check for $83,000 made out to Walker Girls College Fund. Dolores gasped. Connor let out a slow, "Well, I'll be" whistle. I felt the floor tilt. Not from PTSD or bank vault chill, but from a revelation heavier than any mortar round Dad had set aside money for us together. Not for one to hoard. Madison turned inheritance into a battleground when it was meant as a bridge. But the most valuable item hid at the bottom, a notarized addendum to the will. Dated 6 months before Dad died. Reaffirming transfer of the house solely to me unless both daughters reside there in Harmony for 12 consecutive months. Harmony Dad's final impossible mission. I pocketed the addendum and new compass, heart clanging like a buoy bell. We had silver bullet evidence. Next stop, Town Hall, noon. The blackout lingered. So Madison's Finding Your Inner Lighthouse workshop glowed under rented LED lanterns. Folding chairs packed the municipal auditorium, yoga pants devotees, local journalists, retirees curious for drama. Madison pranced on stage in flax linen and faux humility. Palms pressed. Friends, when negative forces try to sink your ship, remember lighthouses don't chase boats, they just shine. Applause like polite rain. I waited at the back with Connor, Dolores, 2 off-duty cops, and Graham the boat builder. Liam fed me live chat stats through an earpiece. Madison's stream hovered at 90,000 viewers. Good. The bigger her spotlight, the harsher her shadows would show. Connor wheeled a portable projector beside me, powered by a marine battery. Showtime. Captain? I strode down the aisle, boots echoing on polished wood, heads turned, whispers rippled. There she is, the dangerous vet. Madison's smile twitched, but held. Mind if I borrow your stage? Little sister, I asked, voice loud enough for the cheap seats. Her mic trembled. We practice consent in this space. Great, I said. Who consents to hearing the unedited truth? Hands shot up, curiosity outpacing loyalty. Madison swallowed. Connor hit play. The screen behind her flickered to life. Burglary GoPro. Phoenix costume invoice. Forged deed graphic with that wrong eagle tail. Gasp spread like brush fire. A retiree in the second row muttered, "That crest's been wrong since 19 ed." Next slide, Dad's original will. Dolores' screenshots with Madison's snarky font notes. My sister's cheeks blanched the exact shade of her ring light reflector. Finally, I held up Box 42's addendum beneath a lantern. Certified this morning. House belongs to me unless we live together peacefully for a year. Harmonic, isn't it? Murmurs turned tidal. Someone shouted, "Explain the fake death certificate." A wellness follower live streaming on her phone pivoted from Madison to me, narrative recoil on camera. Just when Madison opened her mouth, perhaps to blame a rogue intern, Mom rose from the front row. Her voice wavered through the hush. I signed what my daughter put before me, because she threatened to reveal that Thomas kept emergency cash unreported. Tears glimmered. I was ashamed, afraid of IRS audits. Neighbors' gossip. I failed both my girls. Madison hissed, "Mom, sit down." But the older crowd sympathized. They knew reputation terror. A widow cornered equals emotional TNT. Madison lit that fuse herself. Cornered animals lash out. Madison grabbed her mic. This is staged. Erin's PTSD makes her hallucinate conspiracies. She broke into the house. Connor nodded at the off-duty cops. They stepped forward with a thumb drive. Footage of your hired double, Ms. Walker Price. We traced payment through your LLC. One officer read Miranda rights, not an arrest, but a stern reminder. Audience phones rose like periscopes. Hashtags flipped in real time. Howard Serenity scam began trending. Even Madison's loyal wellness warriors wobbled. Nobody wants to be last holding a sinking brand. Madison's eyes found mine, acidic green. Pupils pin needle small. You think you've won. Narrative's not over. I lifted Dad's compass twin. Neither is family. North is still north. No matter how you spin the ring light. Connor served Madison the notice to quit, 14 days to vacate. Court order to follow. Thanks to fresh documents, murmurs became applause. I should have tasted victory. But the cavern in my chest only widened. Dad's check intended unity. Instead, we'd drawn battle lines in legal ink. A reporter asked what I'd do with the house. I answered honestly. First fix the broken window. Then decide if walls can forgive what people did inside them. That line would quote nicely, but it was mostly shielding raw confusion. As crowd dispersed, a deputy strode in, holding a temporary restraining order. Madison alleged I'd threatened her online supporters. The TRO froze my access to the property until a hearing in 48 hours. She'd sprinted to the courthouse basement between confession and cops, weaponizing bureaucracy faster than we could serve coffee. Connor's mouth flattened. She filed on lunch recess. Clever. A gust rattled auditorium windows. Thunderheads clotted the sky, stormfront rolling inland. Symbolic, maybe cliches exist because they fit. I fingered the compass. The needle jittered under atmospheric static. I stepped outside. Rain finally arriving in sheets. Mom hovered under an awning. umbrella useless against sideways spray. Her eyes pleaded for a hug and absolution. I wasn't ready for either. PTSD isn't just war, it's coming home to a battlefield shaped like a dining room. Graham the boat builder slapped my shoulder. Need a place to crash. Captain, I got a spare berth. Community still mattered. Astoria was more than whispers. I nodded. Throat too tight for thanks. Phone vibrated text from Liam Bot Farm firing again. Madison spinning TRO as self-protection from violent sibling. Engagement spiking. Weaponized victimhood round 2. My muscles quivered, not with fear, but cold purpose. Then we'll bring the fight to platforms she can't game. I told Connor, time for federal cyberspace laws she's never read. He smirked, rain dripping off his tie. I'll draft emergency motions. You draft your speech for the judge. I glanced at the courthouse clock tower. 47 hours, 58 minutes until the hearing. If the TRO stuck, Madison could stall eviction indefinitely, sell the retreat brand, and rewrite history on every timeline. Compass to my ear. I swore I heard Dad's spoon taps ... Finish what you start. I glanced at the courthouse clock tower. 47 hours, 58 minutes until the hearing. If the TRO stuck, Madison could stall eviction indefinitely, sell the retreat brand, and rewrite history on every timeline. Compass to my ear. I swore I heard Dad's spoon taps ... Finish what you start. 47 hours evaporate fast when sleep runs on courtroom adrenaline. By sunrise of hearing day, I'd rehearsed my statement so many times, the words felt sanded smooth, dangerously weightless. Connor caught my sleeve outside the Clatsop County Justice Center. Remember, he said, glasses fogging in the damp. Judges respect facts, not moral high ground. Lead with forged deed proof. Close on the Veterans Housing Statute. I tapped the compass tucked inside my blazer. The cool metal steadied my pulse like a thumb on a trigger. North. Focus. Breathe. The courthouse lobby buzzed hotter than a beehive. Madison's supporters formed a pastel wall of yoga mats and handmade signs. Protect positivity. PTSD property. My boots squeaked on tile that smelled of pine sol and tension. Halfway to security, a young man thrust his phone inches from my face. Livestream sticker blinking red. Captain Walker. Any comment on threatening your sister's safe space? My jaw flexed. 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. I kept moving. Camera lights followed like rifle scopes. Dolores King, flanking me in her librarian cardigan, brandished a grocery receipt roll. If you can film, you can read, she scolded, shoving copies of Madison's costume invoice toward the crowd. The unexpected grandma energy parted protesters faster than riot shields. Judge Helford, steel-haired, Marine vet pin on his robe, called the session to order. Rain hit stained glass windows like soft drum fire. Madison arrived with a new legal team, 3 suits. 0 eye contact. She wore a cream jumpsuit that screamed innocence, with a side of influencer chic. Opening volley. Her attorney framed the TRO as a necessary safeguard for a vulnerable mental health advocate. He slid psychiatric articles, hinted that my combat service rendered me volatile. My throat burned. After all those years guarding comrades against insurgent propaganda, I faced weaponized stereotypes on home soil. Connor rose, calm, relentless, factual. He introduced Dad's will addendum, the costume invoice, Liam's IP trace, Dolores's eyewitness video. Exhibit after exhibit hit the docket like precise artillery. Each time. Madison's lawyer objected. Each time. Helford overruled. Then it was my turn. I stood, compass in hand, not as prop, but anchor. Your Honor, I won't diminish PTSD. It lives in my bones. But so does honor. I asked the court to weigh verified evidence over viral narratives. I didn't mention the hate DMs or the bot swarm, those were battles for later. I simply held the compass aloft. This needle never lies, even during storm surge. Truth behaves the same. Helford's eyes flickered to his own veteran pin. A beat, then two. Gavels don't slam as loud in real life as in movies. But the relief thundered through my chest. Taro vacated. Madison's shoulders crumpled a millimeter. Just enough. Outside, reporters swarmed again. Connor handled sound bites. I scanned for threats. Old habits die harder than lies. The sky had cleared, but social media clouds gathered. Liam texted a screen grab Madison's followers, now rallying under #JusticeForMadi, claiming the military-industrial complex silenced a wellness queen. A second screenshot showed a crowdfunding page for her appeal and emotional healing tour, already $5,000 raised in 10 minutes. Hydra heads. Liam wrote, "Cut 1, 2 grow." Connor shrugged. Legal win can't fix public perception overnight. I looked at the courthouse steps where Mom waited. Fingers laced like prayer beads. She whispered, "Can we just go home?" Home, a concept currently guarded by police tape and bad memories. But I nodded. Some wars shrink when witnessed together. Off-duty officers escorted us to 318 Commercial. Afternoon sun painted cedar siding gold, almost forgiving. Madison had 12 days left before eviction. Yet the driveway was empty, her Tesla vanished. Inside, glass crunched under boots. Rainwater pooled beneath the broken window. We sifted rooms, no furniture, no ring lights. She'd gutted the retreat overnight. Only the living room mantelpiece remained. And on it, something new. My original compass needle snapped. Lid bent, propped against Dad's metal case. Beside it, a Polaroid of Madison smiling, middle finger up, caption inked on the border, "North is what I say it is." Mom gasped. Connor cursed. For me, the broken brass felt like shrapnel buried in muscle, painful, but oddly clarifying. I pocketed the wreckage. She wanted to rattle me. Let's fix windows, not symbolism. Graham arrived with plywood. Dolores brought library teens armed with trash bags. Neighbors who'd once whispered now asked how to help. A Latino high schooler patched drywall while explaining his father's deportation scare. Documents decide futures in this country. Ma'am. His words landed heavier than lumber. By dusk, the house looked wounded, yet upright, much like its owner. Mom brewed cocoa on a camp stove, power still unstable after the transformer fire. We drank from mismatched mugs in the empty living room. She broke silence. Your father believed resources test character. Maybe this is still a test. I eyed the cashier's check Dad left. Tucked in my notebook, $83,000 could rebuild more than windows. It could rebuild narratives, scholarships for veteran families, grants for mental health care, not filtered through hashtags. Purpose flared like matchlight. Phone buzz, Liam again. Critical. He FaceTimed in, face pallid under fluorescent glare. I blocked the Arizona bot farm, he said. But traffic spiked from Eastern Europe. Thousands of cloned accounts pushing a story that you forged the compass photo to frame Madison. Deep fake deja vu, Connor muttered. Liam continued, and they leaked your VA medical file, redacted, but enough for rumor mongers. My stomach plunged. Private therapy notes, dosage lists, ammo for stigma. You trace it, I asked, voice tight. Working, but they're bouncing through privacy havens. Connor raked his hands through hair. She's crowdsourcing character assassination. Civil court damages could escalate. Mom's cocoa suddenly tasted like sawdust. I felt every eye neighbors. Volunteers pivot, gauging whether their kindness had backed the wrong horse. PTSD equals unsafe, the algorithmic whisper returning. I stepped onto the porch. Rain hissing soft against plywood. Night breeze carried diesel and distant gull wails. The shattered compass lay cold in my palm. The unbroken twin, safe in my pocket. 2 paths. 2 futures retaliate, digital for digital. Or pivot to something Madison couldn't spoil. Dad's spoon tap memory surfaced dot dash dot, finish what you start. But finish how win the house and lose the soul. Or lose the narrative war, yet seed a broader truth. A patrol car rolled by. Lights off. Silent reassurance that the law, at least for tonight, sided with me. But laws don't trend, stories do. Connor. I called through the doorway, voice steel steady. Draft the paperwork to donate Dad's check to a public veterans mental health fund. Include Madison as co-grantor. Publicly invite her to sign. His eyebrows soared. You sure? She wants a narrative. Let's give her one that doesn't break when bots attack two sisters channeling conflict into community care. Mom's eyes brimmed. And if she refuses, then the contrast tells its own story, no hashtags needed. Decision made. I finally exhaled. Just then, knuckles rapped the porch railing 3 crisp knocks. A silhouette stood beyond the circle of lantern light. Hood dripping rain. My pulse hit combat cadence. The figure stepped forward, no camera. No mask, just Madison. Eyes red-rimmed, yet blazing. She held the twin compass aloft, needle glinting intact. Negotiation, I asked, wary. She shook her head. North, she whispered, voice hoarse. Has a price. Then she flicked her wrist, sending the compass skittering across the porch toward me, followed by the metallic clink of handcuffs dangling from her other hand. The rain had finally stopped, but the air smelled like burnt ozone and unresolved questions. Madison stood on the porch, cuffed, the twin compass dangling in her hand like a challenge. The sound of it clinking against her wrist echoed between us, sharp and cold. The porch light flickered once before dying, leaving only the dull glow from the street lamp across the yard. Negotiation, I asked, my voice steady. Despite the storm that brewed in my chest, I could feel the compass in my pocket growing heavier by the second, like it was weighing every decision, every consequence. She shook her head, the shadows of her wet hair clinging to her face. Her eyes were raw, but there was something else there, defiance, a kind of desperation I hadn't expected. North has a price, she whispered, voice hoarse. You think you've won, but you haven't. You've played by their rules, by their system, but that doesn't always win. Aaron, not in the world I've built. For a second, I didn't know how to respond. The words were a punch to the gut, but they didn't hit me in the way she thought they would. Instead, they sank deep into the dirt, where the roots of all the things we hadn't said were buried. The house, the inheritance, the lies we'd told each other to survive. But the thing that kept me grounded was the same thing that had guided me from the beginning, truth. I never played their game. Madison, I said, my voice low but clear. I'm not playing yours either. Her eyes flickered, something breaking behind the glass of her expression. She dropped the compass onto the wooden porch, the needle spinning before it finally came to a halt north, like it always had. The compass had been a symbol from the very beginning, something my father had trusted more than anything else. But here, now, it wasn't the object that mattered, it was the direction. We weren't fighting for a piece of land anymore. We were fighting for the truth. 1. The turning point, making peace with the past. Madison slowly unclipped the cuffs with a snap. I don't want to fight anymore, she said, almost too quietly. I want to be done with it. All of it. I blinked, surprised. This was the sister I knew, the one who would never admit to weakness. The one who played the part of the perfect, untouchable influencer. But now, standing in front of me, she looked human for the first time in years. The walls she'd built around herself, around us, had cracked. I stepped forward, slowly. Then let's end it. Madison nodded, pulling her phone from her pocket. Her fingers hesitated over the screen before she tapped out a message. As I watched her, I knew that something was changing, not just in her, but in me too. Maybe this was the start of something new, Or maybe it was just the end of an old fight that had worn us both thin. Either way, we had one choice left. She handed me the phone. On the screen was a video feed Madison, standing in front of a crowd, her wellness empire, now gutted, now a platform for truth.
"I'm going live," she said, "but this time it's real, no filters."
I nodded, the weight of my own decisions pressing down on me. The past hadn't been easy, but maybe, just maybe, the future could be. 2. Healing wounds. Two sides of the same story. Madison's live stream was raw. No makeup, no script, no pretense, just her, standing in front of her followers, her voice breaking as she explained the truth of our family, of her mistakes and mine. The video pinged with comments, but not the usual praise. Instead, the audience was divided. Some said she was brave for owning up to it. Others accused her of exploiting her pain for views. But it didn't matter. What mattered was that Madison finally admitted what had been gnawing at both of us for years. We were never truly competing for the house or the money. We were competing for something deeper: our father's love, his legacy, and the right to feel like we mattered. In the end, it wasn't about what he left us, but about what we made of what he gave us. I watched the live stream from the porch, the steady hum of the city fading in the background. I couldn't help but feel that we were both, finally, shedding the last remnants of the people we used to be, the people we thought we had to be. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," Madison said in the video, voice trembling. "I'm just asking for a chance to be human again. And maybe that's enough." Her message had the desired effect. The comments started shifting, people realizing that her vulnerability was what made her powerful, not the curated image she'd built. It was like peeling away the layers of a false narrative and revealing the truth beneath. And the truth, it seemed, was what everyone needed. 3. Moving forward, the choice to heal. I turned to look at Mom, who had quietly joined us on the porch. Her hands were folded in her lap, her expression pensive. She hadn't said much during the live stream, but I could see the weight of the years pressing on her. This was her chance, too, to stop living in the shadow of the lies, to forgive herself for the things she hadn't said. "I'm sorry, Erin," she whispered, "for everything." Her apology was a salve to a wound I didn't know was still open. I wrapped my arms around her. "We can only move forward from here. Mom, you did what you thought was best. We all did." We stood there together for a long moment, the rain finally tapering off, the evening settling into a soft quiet. I realized then that forgiveness wasn't just a concept we'd been taught. It was something we had to actively choose every day, even when it seemed impossible. The compass remained at my feet, its needle now still, pointing unwaveringly north. But for the first time, I felt like I didn't need it to find my way. I'd already started walking in the direction I was supposed to go. 4. Final twist. The price of freedom. The sound of tires crunching gravel interrupted the silence. A police cruiser pulled up, lights flashing. My first thought was that Madison had found a new way to turn this into drama. But when the officer stepped out, I froze. "Captain Walker," he called. I stepped forward, heart thundering. "Yes." The officer handed me an envelope. "This is for you. It's from the courthouse. You're being summoned for a final hearing. Madison's filed for full custody of the house. She claims the eviction doesn't stand due to mental duress." I felt my stomach drop. The war wasn't over yet. The house, the money, the inheritance, none of it had been decided. We hadn't won yet. The officer turned and walked back to his cruiser. I stood frozen, staring at the envelope in my hand. "I thought we were done," Madison whispered from behind me. "We are," I said, my voice hardening. "But this is just the beginning of a new fight." The battle for the house was just the beginning. In the next chapter of this saga, What will it take to truly find peace? And what happens when a battle for a home becomes a battle for the soul?